Good afternoon, and yeah, back on Paluma on my now 03 Hayabusa. What I have a chat about is that this bike is getting close to the 60,000 k mark. You know, she's definitely no spring chicken. I think it's been crashed a couple of times too. When I got it, it was in a state of disrepair and had been crashed, so brought it back, and in traffic, a lot of traffic up here this time now, and it's turned into a really good bike. Karina rode this to Phillip Island last year. Didn't have any dramas with it, you know. She did manage to drop it a couple of times, you know, a couple of chips on the paintwork. I only had a couple of small electrical glitches with the old wiring because it was sat around for such a long time. And I think I was at my place for a couple of years before I actually did anything with it. And then when I got it, it was in a really, you know, poor state. You know, the old fuel tank was pretty rusted out, and you know, all the usual stuff. And went through and cleaned up the EFI. It's turned out to be a good bike, so I just wanted to touch on how easy it can be to make an older bike still ride reasonably well, you know. But when we got we did all this and fresh tyres and all the usual gear, we also freshened up the suspension, put some heavier springs in the front, you know, more for my purpose than for Karina's. But on the trip, with all the load on it she had, it helped the bike, you know, with all the extra weight that she had. And then for me, for, you know, having a bit of fun on it, it's turned out to be, you know, good for the both of us. So, and I actually chose to keep this bike rather than sell it when we had the two boosters. So it still handles really good. And when we got the other one, the blue one, that was brother-in-law's bike, first time we had the chance to go away, we took both the rocket ships up to the table lands and have a bit of fun with it. And I was quite surprised at how good this thing felt, and I couldn't work out what it was. I knew, well, it took me a while to sort of, you know, between riding the two buses, you know, to find out which one was, what the shining difference was between the two. And it wasn't until I got Karina to have a go and on the newer one, and then after she'd been riding this all weekend, to find out what she thought of it. And then I sort of narrowed it down after she got off, and the other one feels so vague, and I don't know, can't believe it doesn't feel as good as the old one. And it was all down to the tyres, you know. The other blue bike we had, which was, you know, stock as a rock other than an exhaust pipe, but no tune-up or anything in it, dead standard. And it had the original Bridgestones, which were also a few years old. It was a 2012, you know, bike with the original tyres on it, and this was, you know, probably early last year, 2014, when we first went up with it. The bike had only done a couple of thousand Ks and had the original rubber, and this thing had the Pirelli GTs with the harder compound rear tyre, so, which is what she used to go down to. Thanks, mate. It's nice when they pull over. And basically, by the end of the weekend, we sort of worked out that was the biggest difference between the two bikes. Was the freshened suspension in this was working really well on the handling side of it, but the tyres made such a huge difference. And you'd be surprised how much a set of tyres can influence a good bike, or make a bike that's probably not so good feel brilliant. And a new bike like the standard Bridgies, they're just garbage on those boosters. They really are. If anyone that's got a Hayabusa and you've got a new one, just give the tyres away to a mate or something. grab anything that's, you know, half reputable. Like I said, these GTs have been great in the wet. I've really done a great job with them. They seem to suit the bike, you know. I've pushed them pretty good. They get a little bit of step out, but God, you know, how hard are you going to ride a booster on the street? And they're getting good mileage. We've got, I think, with Colt Carina as well, you need 10,000 k's out of a rear. So they've been great. I went all the way to Melbourne at Phillip Island and back on a set of tyres, which I never used to be able to do. And the same thing for Carina's V-Strom. It's bloody, it just gets tight here. Tight. With the Strom, you know, we got that, and same thing. Had the original trail wing, or whatever they are. I don't even know what sort of bloody tyres are on. They're pretty gungy. She crashed it when she first rode, and it felt really vague. It was a 5-year-old bike with the original rubber, right? Nothing physically wrong with the tyres. They were just old. So, and put the Metzeler Tourance next on her bike. Fucking brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And the thing hooks in. It's just good quality, fresh rubber. I could have probably put a set of Shinkos on that thing and it would have made it handle better. I honestly reckon. So if you're riding around on an old bike and you're having handling issues and you're not sure what it is, even though your tyres look good, whack some fresh rubber on it. You know, they don't last. They have a shelf life, and especially if you're in a really hot climate or even a really cold climate, you know. So fucking they go off. This thing's, look at this, you know. Shouldn't be able to do this sort of stuff on a booster, but I can because I've just put the basics into the suspension, fresh oil in both of, and the rear shock, new seal kit, standard spring in the rear and heavier springs in the front, and all new seals and oil. And also while I was doing this bike I did, you know, swing arm bearings and wheel bearings and all that, so it's nice and true. So I replaced all of those, all the bearings and the bloody rear linkages and that, you know, so yeah, you would. Some of the kids that come up with us every now and again are quite amazed at how good the old girl does, but it's a bit of effort. So yeah, if you've got an old bike, and even if it's done, you know, like I said, I had a rough idea of some of the history on this bike because I did sell it back in 07 or 08, I think. It was 08 to a customer, and then obviously got crashed, and then I found it at another shop. So I knew it originally was a good bike, but it had a bit of a hard life for those few years. And yeah, I'm kind of fallen in love with it actually. I don't really want to sell it. I negged it, but it's, so yeah, just do a little bit of, you know, spend a little bit of money, you know, over here. You can spend $500 to $600 in here, I'm talking Australian dollars, on, yeah, getting some springs, and I didn't do the work. I took it to, you know, my Yamaha dealer down south that does all my dyno tunes. He done it all for me at the time, dude. And then some good fresh rubber, and like I said, and I did the rest of it. And it's bloody brilliant. So get your old bike. If you don't want to spend the money on buying a new one, and motor-wise and everything else, you know, it's running good, like this thing does, you know, you can still have a good bike with not a lot of coin. You know, I only put a couple of $1,000s into this, you know, even with respraying it, cleaning the injectors out, and, you know, probably spent about $80 putting some new O-rings through the injectors, and getting the injectors sort of cleaned, and just all that sort of, you know, basic stuff. My old fuel pump that come out of my old big boy drag bike, it's a bit slippery again. So, which brings me to the next thing, which I did yesterday, is we managed to ride some new stuff. So, went to our local BMW Ducati dealer and took the new Scrambler for a ride. Oh, crikey, that was fun. It was, yeah. Run out of legs though, like it needs some taller gearing on it, because I doing 100 k's an hour, and I don't know how many times I was looking for 7th and 8th gear on it. So, but for an urban commuter, geez, it was fun, light and heaps of torque. And after that, they because he knows I like me adventure style bike, he let us take out the new GS, the liquid cooled one, and holy shit, I get, I used to probably be a bit negative years ago towards BMW riders and that, but I do get it now. I have rode a couple of boxes early, some older ones, and I always didn't mind the old motor, and I didn't mind the feel of the telelever. This telelever front suspension they got on them. Paralevers the rear, that telelever front, which they've got on the new GS. So we took that, and shit, it can do everything. Expensive, like it's talking $27,000 for one of those in Australia. I think off the top of my head I had a bit of a look last night. Plus, that's just for the bike. Now the other one, which I really felt comfortable on straight up, was the little R1200, naked boxer. Jesus, for a standard bike that looks like, a 60-year-old should be riding it. I'm not putting too much shit on BM guys, but Jesus, it was quick. And it's just that torque, that out of the corner torque that those motors produce. It really did feel good to ride. It had both bikes had the up and down quick shifter on them. They were just nice to ride on. Oh, that jumps off there. Just a bit damp. Yeah, and immediately felt really comfortable on it. And it was a bit sporty, kind of like, actually the peak position is very similar to the Booster, just thinking about it. The bar's obviously a little bit high because it's that naked, but the torque out of the corners for a street bike, for doing, rides like this, geez, it was nice. Really, Toit, get over. I wonder why they get pissed off. Yeah, really nice bike. If I had a lot of money, I'd probably buy one of each, because it looks so understated too. It was just to look at, but it didn't look like anything. But Jesus, it come out of the corners hard, and it weighed nothing. It really felt light with that low center of gravity that the boxer engines have. Just man going through, deliberately went through some tight corners on it just to see what it would feel like, and it was bloody awesome. The change of direction was, yeah. So, but getting back to the GS, like I could sort of, if I get the money in a few years, I might look at buying one. But in saying that, that's not, there's nothing saying you couldn't take a dirty old V-Strom and something a bit agricultural and make it into a good bike by spending a little bit of money on it. It's not going to be as good as the Beamer, but do you want to drop $28,000 worth of motorcycle and crash it into the? Only problem is I can't see, mate. Thanks, mate. It's nice that they pull over when on a blind corner. It's a bit hard. Yeah, so that's what I said to Karina. I said, as much as I love riding that big GS, I would use it probably as a touring motorcycle to tackle the odd gravel road if we got, if you got caught out. That's what it'd be great for. But I honestly couldn't bring myself to deliberately going up some gnarly tracks and where I'm gonna drop it and crash it and fuck it up. I just couldn't do it. But for a touring motorcycle, I think if you had to do some big miles, yeah, definitely the GS would be awesome. More so if you're going to go 2-up. So I would definitely think one day I'll probably buy one, just not straight away. I'll more likely get another KTM next. Probably go for the 1190 on a mate's bike's got. And it's beautiful up here at the moment. So I checked the prices on some used Katos, and it was a beautiful, really nice, like 3,000k bike with all the fruit on it for 17,000, which is, probably 10, 11 grand cheaper than a spanking new GS, and the Kato's really good in the bush. So, hey, come on, I'll go. So, yeah, so if you've thought about a boxer, go ride one. They really do ride well. Karina was comfortable on them, and she's only got probably 6 years experience now from not riding at all, and she felt how good the bike was to ride. If you're thinking of going, you definitely try one out. I haven't rode the new Multistrada yet, but I'm going to try and see if I can get a ride on one of those, and I might vlog that while I'm riding it, give you my honest impression. But Jesus, that big torquey boxer, and it's the torque, that's what it is. It's the same as this thing. You can roll on at 2,000 RPM, 3,000 RPM, and the thing's just pulled. So, and if you don't want to spend any money on a new bike, and you still got your old sports bike, get some bloody, have a good look at what it needs, and have a play with it, and do the suspension, and put tyres on it, and do all that, all that good stuff. They're saying this is open again, but it's not. There you go, it's not open. We thought it was. We're gonna... Yeah, no, it's not open. I thought it was open, but it's not. Yeah, get your old bike if you really can't, afford to go throwing down some money on a new bike. Spend a couple of grand, tyres and some suspension and brakes and braided brake lines, and and check the bearings out. Like if you've got a 10-year-old bike that's got a few Ks on it, just put some wheel bearings in it, and like swing arm bearings and headstock bearings and all that. It makes it feel so good. This thing feels like such a bloody new bike. I just go on the road here. I want to sit. You can see me up here. This thing feels so good to ride, and it's all because all those consumable parts have all been replaced. And in all honesty, this felt so much better than my old bloody than the new bike we had, just from the tyres and those little bits of suspension. So yeah, get out there, play with your bike, have a go. If you can afford to and you want to have a look at some some newer stuff, yeah, by all means do it. But anyway, that's my little run up the mountain for today. So I'll talk to you next time. Bye.